Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. I'd like to welcome the Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs of Solomon Islands, Mr. Honourable Milner Tozaka, to our chambers. It's a much pleasure to have him here. He's obviously been to Fiji before, and he's no stranger to Fiji. But we have successfully concluded our negotiations this morning, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Minister for bringing a fresh insight into this impasse that we've had over the past few months. I'd like to thank him for his wisdom and indeed his vision. We obviously have always been willing to work together with Solomon Islands. They're indeed our Melanesian brothers. And what we have with us today is the agreement, a joint communiqué that will be issued to the public, which we will now sign before you, and also we'll be issuing the extension of the license to Solomon Islands Airlines. And with us, of course, is his delegation, including from the Solicitor General's Office and Civil Aviation Department. And also with us we have the CEO of Fiji Airways and Fiji Link. So Minister, perhaps we will sign and then you can say a few words after that. No. We'll just stand up and exchange this. Also, I can give the license too, right?
I got the license here, or the certificate.
Thank you. Oops, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. We also have much pleasure in presenting to you the International Air Services Permit that has already been signed by us, and it's for Solomon Islands Airways. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
This time also very pleased to present to the same foreign project certificate.
Thank you very much. If you want to say a few words.
Yes. Well, Minister, I would like to say, Attorney General and Minister of Civil Aviation, thank you very much indeed for receiving my delegation. As we have my delegation consists of my permanent secretary, Attorney General, the our High Commissioner here in Fiji, our solicitor, the director of Civil Aviation. I'm so grateful indeed this morning that following the friendly, fruitful discussion pertaining to the service agreement between our two countries, we have agreed for the immediate lifting of the air services to allow between our country, Solomon Island and Fiji, to allow our two countries designated airlines to provide services. And I'm so pleased that our two governments and our people, the traveling public, are looking forward for this. And I'm so grateful that this has taken us just this morning for us to talk and to agree and to sign. And this is basically what I'm here for, Minister, to complete this mission. I'm so thankful as well that your colleague, and my counterpart, the Minister for Foreign Affairs. He paid us a visit last week and met with the Prime Minister and myself. And that, of course, is a manifestation of our very close, friendly, cordial relations between Fiji, between Solomon Islands and Fiji. And our people are so grateful, and our government as well. My government and my people so grateful for that. So I'm here to follow up. I want to see, as a Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs, as well as wearing another hat for the civil aviation, to complete this mission. So thank you very much indeed.
Most welcome. Most welcome. Thank you, Minister. Maybe we'll open up the floor for questions you may have.
So what does this communiqué entail?
We'll give you copies of it, of course, but at the end of the day, we are essentially sticking to what the Air Services Agreement stipulates. The Air Services Agreement does allow for the designated airlines of each country to have 3 flights, up to 3 flights a week. Now what the communiqué essentially entails is that that is in place, and we have at the moment, or well, we had prior to the Impasse, Solomon Islands having a direct flight from Honiara to Nadi once a week, and we had Fiji Airways flying via Vila to Honiara, and then it had wanted to increase, as per the Air Services Agreement, an additional flight, and that's where the Impasse came along, but that's obviously now been removed. We've also agreed that we will commence a meeting on the review of the Air Services Agreement, the existing Air Services Agreement, on the 25th of January. So that's going to commence, but nonetheless, notwithstanding those discussions, in the future the current ASA will remain in place until such time as there has been a completed review has taken place of it, and there is an agreement reached on that. There's also a provision in the agreement that the individual airlines can speak to each other, their counterparts, which is Solomon Islands Airlines and also Fiji Airways, to see if they can have, code sharing, etc. Those are areas outside the ASA. They are commercial terms that need to be negotiated between the two airlines. We obviously encourage them. There are other airlines that are also keen to develop code sharing, for example, in Fiji Airways. We believe that we need to be able to, as international citizens, adhere to ASAs. ASAs are very, very important because it instills confidence within the civil aviation industry. It is an international industry, so we need to adhere to that. But also we see civil aviation, in particular in the Pacific, as a means of enhancing economic development. So if, for example, we have adherence to ASAs, and we have, whether it's code sharing, whether it's airline linking, etc., if we're able to look at it on a commercial basis, then we're able to sort of spread the tourism numbers throughout the Pacific, and that's very, very important. We've had, for example, a couple other airlines that's looked at talking to Fiji Airways regarding, code sharing or airline linking to LA, because we do fly to LA, we do fly to Hong Kong, and we fly to destinations in Australia and New Zealand. So there's potential for that. Wearing my previous hat in the tourism industry, we've always seen that, and we think that there's a potential to sell the Pacific as a package. So if, for example, an American whose grandfather fought in the war in Guadalcanal wants to visit Guadalcanal, they need to be able to have a seamless flight or transition via Fiji. They can go via Fiji, or if they come via Australia, whatever the case may be. But in order to increase their potential, so civil aviation needs to be looked at in the wider perspective, its implications on economic development. So they are the general terms of the communiqué, the joint communiqué that has been agreed to this afternoon, or this morning.
Is it different from the previous ASA, or is it the same in terms of flight schedule?
Which different to which communiqué?
From the previous one, regarding the impasse. Is it different?
You mean the discussion we had last year?
Yes.
It's very similar. But essentially, I think what you need to note is that we're essentially sticking to the ASA, and we've agreed to now have a discussion on a review of the existing ASA. But as far as the travelling public is concerned, we are sticking to the ASA.
That's right,
perhaps?
yes. I support that. Within that agreement, Minister I'd like to say here that we did invite your ministry, the organization, to come to for the first negotiation, for the first meeting in Honiara on the 25th. Okay. The ramifications that this impasse has caused to us economically, and as well as the inconvenience that has caused to our traveling public is common knowledge. I mean, it's quite huge. So it's very urgent for both countries, government to address this issue immediately. And we have a new government in Solomon Island, and that is our first task to sort out this impasse here. I think we have done that well, the understanding of Fiji, and that's what we're so grateful. Thank you.
Minister Tozaka, sorry.
Can I, sorry, just, anybody else have any other questions? Somebody else a chance, please?
Sorry, sir. When are the flights expected to
Come in? Saturday?
Tomorrow.
No. What we're going to do is, of course, we don't want the flights to operate empty, so we need some lead times for sales. So after the impasse between the governments has been overcome, we're going to re-establish these flights, start selling these flights, and I would assume that we operate the first additional flight in March, probably by the middle of March. We need about 2 months lead time.
So how many flights are we looking at for 1 week?
Well, we have one flight, as the minister has stated, via Port Vila, and we will have another direct flight each Saturday.
Of course, the CEO speaks with Fiji Airways only. Solomon Islands may commence sooner than that, so it's up to them really. But you know, both the parties are free to start tomorrow if they want.
So I cannot comment on that because that's an operational matter. Yes, so we'll leave that to Solomon Islands. But I think the lifting of the air service, that's most important for us, for the government.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, you have a question?
Minister, so what does this mean for the people of Solomon Islands?
Well, it means, as you understand, that most of our students are studying here in the university here. Then they are starting to come back next month, and this has cost us a lot of money, and we would like them to. This would be very helpful to us, to our students who travel here without having to stay overnight in Vila, and also going through Australia, which is the case at the moment. So this is going to be very helpful to us.
So universities begin from next month, as you pointed out, from February. Before that, would there be any arrangements made by the Solomon government in transporting these students?
We do have charter flights. For example, there was a flight last week. We've actually given approval for a charter flight for Solomon Islands to bring in students. So that was ongoing. That was not a problem because that's outside the ambit of the normal scheduled flights. And we've in fact given an approval for Solomon Islands to bring in a charter load of students. But of course, it has to go back empty. But with normal scheduled flying, they can buy and sell tickets both ways. Oh, thank you. Oh my God! I can do a wait for this. Thank you very much. Can I in Parliament? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Everyone be settling.